in a mastermind group where the majority of the folks are entrepreneurs, and some are, being a little more, wanting their children to be entrepreneurs and not take on a job or W-2. I think I take a little bit of a different approach, I think, than most entrepreneurs. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care if they decide to get a job, go to college, get a job, or they decide to be an entrepreneur or real estate or business or whatever. I really don't care. I want them to be happy. I want them to do what they're passionate about, what they enjoy, what's fun. It's hard enough working hard, but to do something that you don't love and work hard, it's hard. So I'd rather them find themselves, make their own decision, and it doesn't have to happen now. It's going to happen organically, and they'll go to college. And when they come out of college, they can figure out what they want to do. So I'm not going to persuade them either way. I am going to expose them to both worlds. I'll do it on my own, and also if they ask, I'll talk about my corporate life, and I'll talk about my entrepreneur life and what I've done and what I do. And when they start asking more questions about one or the other, I'm happy to answer them. But I'm definitely not going to sway them in one direction or the other. I think you can be successful in either of those worlds. And some people are super happy in the corporate world or at a W-2, and some people are super happy and successful as entrepreneurs, and vice versa, right? Some people are miserable in either or. So, knowing them at this point, I think they'd be really good at either. I don't look at them and say, oh, they would be a terrible entrepreneur or they would be a terrible W-2. I think that they would be successful at either one of them. Thank God they're smart kids, and they care, and they're both trying their hardest in school. So I can see them. They both want good jobs. They definitely want to be successful. You can see they have a drive, because they're asking those questions. So yeah, I'm just happy to watch that journey and be there for them when they need me. And I am not encouraging, and quite frankly, I really don't care. Now, my wife, she's definitely more conservative and definitely wants them to have a W-2, wants them to go to college and get a job, and wants me to have a job too. She reminds me every day, go get a job, because apparently I'm not working, I guess.
Nope, if you're having a conversation with Adam, you're definitely not working today.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, and that's great. I'm no problem with that. I get it. I get that. So, I'm just going to be there for them for when those questions arise, and they're already starting, and they're going to be more and more as, they get older. The only thing I tell my daughter is, thank God she's doing well. Thank you for working hard. Great job. Continue to hard work so that you can go to any college you want. And then once you choose whatever college you want, you don't want to I have to go to this college. You have no other option.
Yeah.
That's what I say to her. I'm like, get good grades so that you can choose where you want to go, what state, what college. And then at that point, you decide what you want to do. Whatever it is totally fine. So that's kind of been my conversation with her. I think my son hears that. He doesn't really need that conversation yet. I kind of have that conversation light with him. But with her, it's obviously because she has to start picking school soon. She's going into her junior year next year. So, I've been just sitting back and here for them when they need me. That's kind of been my approach.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's my goal. Has been, in the way I kind of talk about it, is my kids are my little businesses, right? To keep it in like my job is to be the CEO, kind of run the company. And as somebody who's been in large companies and as somebody, who's running companies, I know that not every person is an entrepreneur. Like, not everybody has that thought process. Not everybody has that mindset. So, I mean, my goal is not to create little entrepreneurs, but rather to create, functional businesses that can go out and do what they need to do to run their life, right? So if I can just become a board of advisors later on, they turn 18, they just reach out to me as an advisor, but they're running their own life, their own, now they're the manager of their own business, they're the CEO of it, and I no longer am. It doesn't matter to me where they go, what they do. I mean, there's some things that I would really like for them, right? I want them to be successful. I want them to drive forward on something that they love and they're passionate about, not be forced into one thing or another. And I think that's probably a much more important route to take. I went into a route that I thought that I loved, the military side of the house. And I did for a while, don't get me wrong. But I didn't know any different. So of course I loved it. Like this was the option. This is what you do. This is what LeVars do.
Yep.
And I just want to open up the aperture a lot more for my kids to see, what the opportunities are that are out there. So, I love your thought process on that. Now, I have a slightly different thought process on college right now, especially as I'm seeing what's going on in college campuses. I'm like, I don't know if I want my kids going near college at this point. But it's a tough one.
I didn't, quite frankly, I may have an opinion, but I am trying my hardest not to sway them.
Yeah.
Things have changed a lot in the last 15, 20 years. And I still think it's important for them to do what's best for them, and it's so hard for us as dads to think we know what's best for them. But I want to try to remind myself that I don't know. Yes, I know the big things. I know that, don't do something stupid, don't do anything illegal, stuff like that. Obviously the teaching moments, but what's specifically right for them, I don't know, and you don't want to set them up for failure either. Like you don't want to push them into something because you're good at it and you're successful at it and it's so obvious and no-brainer for you, and then you push them and they have different personalities than you and it may not work out, right? So that's why I want to be careful and I don't want to have any bias. So I'm going in with the approach where I don't care what they do, though. Yeah, I do kind of have a little bit of a bias, but I'm going to try not to show it.
Yeah, I think it's, I was chatting with one of my friends, really good buddy of mine who's an FBI agent, which I harass him about at this point, considering some other things. But, his kid went to an Ivy League school, and I was like, what in the world? Like, how did that kind of go? And he's like, honestly, he came out even stronger, believing what, in the freedoms that we have and everything than he went in. He's, and I think it has a lot to do with the involvement that we have as dads beforehand. Like, what kind of structure have we already set in place? What kind of guidelines have we set in place? What kind of understanding of the world and society have we already given them, so that maybe they have a little bit more of a fortified base before they go in and have just such a malleable brain that they can just be taught and told anything, where they can go in and actually have a freedom of thought and be able to actually, have a conversation about their beliefs in something, as opposed to just being told what to believe in something. And I know I'm kind of generalizing as far as what college does, but it seems that they're forcing a lot of ideas today, as opposed to just teaching people and let it be a diversity of thought inside of this inside of this classroom, and it turns into let me tell you how to think.
Yep. And I would add to that, and that's definitely what's happening for sure. I mean, it's crazy, what we hear and what we read, but also I think we underestimate our children for two reasons. Number one, we read these articles that scared us, right? And we're seeing what we're seeing on the news, but I'm not sure if it's 100% true. I think our kids are a lot smarter than we give them credit for. To your point, we raise them what's right and what's wrong. We raise them to think for themselves, to investigate, to not just, believe everything you see or read or whatever. And then when they're hearing this crap that they may not believe in, hopefully they're listening to it. That's fine. I think you need to have an open mind and listen to all sides of the arguments.
Oh, of course.
But I think they're going to come out of it and know what's right and wrong. but you're right. We're scared that, oh my God, they're going to brainwash the kids and they're going to do this and do that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Is that happening? I think some kids who maybe don't have the benefit of having the foundational parents, and maybe some kids who just want to believe whatever, or want someone to think for them, and maybe they're being swayed. But I'm hoping that my kids will be different and will continue to think on their own, and know the true values that are important, and morals that are important in life, because that's what these kids are forgetting, right? They're forgetting what's important in life. And as long as I teach my kids, this is what's important, be moral, treat other people the way you want to be treated, all of the basic stuff that we know is right and we know is wrong. I'm hope that will stay with them, and that they won't get, brainwashed from some crazy radical way of thinking.